Jethro, I just have one quick question for you.
A question?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Do you like cannolis?
Love them. Oh,
Okay.
love them.
I kind of figured that. Now, in the first installment of I Want to Be Batman, you were introduced to a variety of characters, including one who called himself L'Homme de la Bat. This character is now permanently off stage. Giorgio is another character who also envisioned himself as Batman. When we first met him, he was standing on a rooftop reciting poetry. From his hidden vantage point, he witnessed the gruesome murder of L'Homme de la Bat. Now, various members of Giorgio's family were also introduced in Act 1, and a woman who may or may not turn out to be his girlfriend, depending on how he plays his cards, also made an appearance. Now, unbeknownst to all, 2 dead bodies were found on the streets of Frenchtown the following morning. In Act 2, you will find out what happens when your personal wardrobe is scrutinized by others, but that is getting a bit ahead of the story. First, you will have to meet the county sheriff who, you will find, is about to be bombarded with a few surprises, all of which add to the disequilibrium of his constitution. In this episode, who did it and why will move from the singular to the plural, so buckle up your seatbelts. The game is afoot.
At about the same time the Attardo clan was settling into their Sunday dinner, Sheriff Wyatt Dion, referred to as the Big when he wasn't in the room, stood under a tree in downtown Frenchtown, just a few blocks off the river. He tried to remain cool, calm, and collected, but he was working himself up into a lather nonetheless.
It's brutal out here today. I'll kill whatever SOB arranged an outdoor press conference on the hottest day of the effing year. I'm standing in the shade, and I'm still sweating like a...
Curse as he would, Sheriff Dion knew exactly who scheduled the meeting, and sheriff or not, he was at the mercy of this town's mayor. The Big had no way of knowing he stood under the exact same tree one of the victims had stood in the wee hours of the morning. If he had looked down at the moment, he would have undoubtedly seen a slew of cigarette butts strewn there by the victim. But he had just arrived, and he had no real notion of the place this tree had in the events. He was merely making use of the shade it provided. The sun had not yet reached its zenith, the temperature was still on the rise, and his shirt was uncomfortably damp from his navel to his armpits.
What the heck happened here last night? And why is there a press conference scheduled? This is not normal procedure. I'll kill the frackin' SOB mayor if he's up to his old tricks. There's 2 dead men, and I've got work to do. Why am I standing here like a dog without...
The sheriff was very good with acronyms and similes, but amidst his impressive display of vernacular, he felt a gentle tug of marionette strings, which answered both why and who.
Someone isn't telling me something, so I'll have to... Oh, Lord, not again. Please, not now. My blasted stomach ulcer's just gonna blow when I... can't afford...
Sheriff Dion held his breath until his tightness in his stomach passed. To distract himself, he surveyed the street until his attention was fixed on the neighborhood church. He imagined what a mess it must have been in the morning, with the narrow streets and alleys closed off to through traffic. That had to have hampered the arriving churchgoers, not to mention the usual assortment of curiosity seekers. He started to chuckle, but stopped. It hurt too much to laugh, so he returned to the business at hand. This is when the duty officer, Sergeant Francois Belanger, stepped out of the church with the pastor in tow. He quickly called them over for an update.
Look, Francois, I've got this bloody press conference any minute now. I need some info.
Don't have any at the moment, sir. It's a Sunday morning in the middle of summer holiday. I'm sorry, but the crime scenes have been slow to develop. We had no report of the first body until approximately 0800. Now, this body, well, as you can see, the investigating team has just finished cordoning off the area behind where we're standing. Our Monsignor here isn't happy with this.
How can I be happy? There's a body, and it's so close to the church. I have mass scheduled to start in 15 minutes. My parishioners can't get to the door if you have the entire area cordoned off.
Like I said, the first body was reported in to us around 0800. Its position is just a few blocks west of here on the other side of the odd building We've cordoned off the entire Apgar property, mansion and all.
A second body? I didn't know there were two in this neighborhood. Mon Dieu. The Monsignor backed his way out of the conversation before he turned and ran up the steps leading into his church. Then he closed the doors. Sheriff Dion didn't bother with the growing crowd or even the crime scene behind him. Instead, he watched the crew hurry to set up the makeshift podium and chairs for the impromptu press conference. With nothing to do now but wait, he took a worn piece of paper out of his pocket so he could practice the few lines he had prepared for the occasion. He was also preoccupied with a few problems of his own at the moment.
Francois, how did you know where to find me this morning?
The mayor's office told us.
The mayor called?
Well, not the mayor himself. It was that woman over there, the one helping set up the press conference. That's Mademoiselle Brunet. She works for the mayor's PR team.
Well, then how the bloody heck did she... Oh, my flippin' stomach.
How the mayor found him over in Milford at the home of his mistress, and not in Sergeantsville at the home with his wife, was just another needle gouging away at the inside of his stomach. Not knowing if it would help his superior or not, Francois tried to offer assistance.
Need any help, sir?
No, I'll be...
Mademoiselle Brunet told me your wife gave her the phone number.
Just like that, the big was on the floor in the fetal position, trying to relax the clenching tightness in his stomach.
Really, sir? I'm here if you need anything. Maybe I should call you an ambulance?
No. Just drop this piece of paper. While I'm down here, can you tell me what else is in your report?
At that exact moment, the sheriff was not really interested in the description of the two dead bodies. He just needed the white noise to give him a moment's rest. He had to think. He needed to know how his wife knew where he was, and possibly the telephone number of a good lawyer.
I wonder if she knows the password to my phone. I thought I erased all those voicemails.
Eventually, Wyatt backed up to his full height and prepared himself for the first test of the day, the press conference. The second test would have to wait until he returned home.
Sorry, Francois. I lost track of what you were saying. Can you give it to me again?
Like I told you, the second body was found later. It was in the yard leading up to the Apgar mansion. Both were male, and stolen goods were found in the vicinity of each body. Stolen goods is not yet a fact, only supposition, since at this point in time, we don't know where the items came from, or, for that matter, or some of them are. Now, on another interesting note, one of the bodies had a peculiar yellow substance in his mouth. That will need chemical analysis, of course. Unfortunately, that will be hard to come by in the middle of the summer unless we have some of our team return from their summer vacations.
Yeah. I hear you. I have no idea what the heck is going on here with this stupid circus of reporters, but I think it best to get all of our staff back to the office ASAP. Is the medical examiner on vacation too? Oh, heck, give me that report you're reading from. I might be able to use it in a few minutes.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'll call the office now. I have no idea where the MedX is. We should have been on the scene by now. He should have been on the scene by now, rather, or his second in command.
Cripes. There's a circus of reporters out there and nothing but a circus of clowns in my department. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I'll just look over your report here to see what else might be of interest. Both dead men were dressed in a similar fashion. Dark, loose-fitting clothing and had tools of the trade strapped onto utility belts.
I guess you could call it cat burglar chic, huh?
Why so soon? Why do we need a press conference at all?
Excuse me, Monsieur Dion. My name is Stephanie Brunet. I'm the mayor's public relations liaison at the moment. I work for the PR firm he used to coordinate these events. Mariana Tardo, she's my boss. You've heard of us, I'm sure. As you can see, all the television stations have arrived, and we are counting upwards of 50 reporters waiting to question you. I do hope you're prepared, and please follow me to the podium. It's about to begin.
Do I have a choice?
Please note, all of the stations have their mics and cameras up and running now, so please be careful what you say and do.
The sheriff followed Mademoiselle Brunet to the podium, tried to stare out into the audience, but was immediately blinded. The position he was now in faced directly into the oncoming rays of the sun. Squinting noticeably, he took a deep breath and delivered his brief, prepared statement. When that was finished, he relaxed visibly, as if a great weight had been lifted. No matter how many times he was called upon to speak in public, it always made him nervous. Now he figured his real duty was done, and all he had to do was muddle through a few questions and call it a day. Of course, everything went downhill for him from this point on.
My name is Sean O'Neill, and I'm with the San Francisco Chronicle. Sheriff Dion, can you please tell me why you were here and not the mayor himself? And why isn't the city of Frenchtown doing more to protect its gay population?
Act up over here. Sheriff Dion, why are men of fashion continuously treated as third-class citizens by the police in this city?
And how many more of our brothers will have to be murdered before you solve this
They
case?
deserve better treatment.
That question came from the middle of a crowd of men who were in the act of collectively unraveling protest banners. All morning the sheriff had been a step slow, and now, as the proverbial excrement was hitting the fan, he could only wonder why a reporter from San Francisco was standing in front of him asking a question about Frenchtown's gay population. Before he could finish his thought, 10 voices spoke up, each echoing their support for Mr. O'Neill. All with follow-up questions, all speaking over each other, all demanding more tolerance and better treatment for gays. The sheriff just stood and stared like a fawn in the headlights. In the midst of the maelstrom, his stomach tightened once more and wouldn't let go. He bent over the podium, holding on for dear life. No one noticed. There was too much activity in what had become a mosh pit of reporters and activists. Within that storm, Wyatt was alone. He stayed on the ground for some time, but when a hush began to settle over the crowd, he opened his eyes, lifted his head an inch or two off the ground, and peered out. What he saw looked as if Moses himself, standing arms raised, head parted the crowd. The camera, still rolling in the back of the audience, now focused in on a solitary figure moving slowly down the avenue created for her.
It's her. She made it. It's Maureen.
I'm so sorry I'm late. Just got in. I'm Maureen Blair, New York Times.
The crowd merged as she passed and followed along behind her, at a respectful distance. She stopped not 5 meters from the sallow-faced man on his hands and knees. Unfortunately, upon hearing her name, Wyatt's stomach gave one grand heave, and he spat up blood. Then he passed out, ending the press conference. When he awoke, the sheriff found himself strapped to a gurney as it was being hoisted into the back of a waiting ambulance. The reporters, being kept a few yards off, were frantically yelling questions and snapping pictures.
Hey, what happened? Hey.
Before the entire gurney disappeared from view, the sheriff held up his hand and motioned Sergeant Belanger to come closer.
Bring me Inspector Christian Gervais. I'll teach that SOB to mess with me.
Whether the sheriff was planning revenge on the mayor or on his chief lieutenant by assigning him the case, you will have to wait to find out. Our story is about to move off the press conference and over to 2 teenagers in love. Only they were not teenagers anymore, and whether or not they were in love is a wait and see. In our first encounter with Batman, also known as Giorgio Tardo, Giorgio had asked Atana out on a date. This was a good thing. The first stop on their date happened to be his parents' house, which, depending upon one's point of view, may not be the best way to start a first date. Now we find them walking along the tree-lined streets of Frenchtown, about as far away from the outdoor press conference as one could get in this quaint river town, basically about 6 blocks. Whether it was by accident or just dumb luck, they were slowly making their way over to Giorgio's apartment.
Oh, don't worry about it, Giorgio. I had fun. And oh my, can your mother cook?
Josephine.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Well, I mean, it's my sister Josie. She's the cook. My mother stands there micromanaging, but the one really doing the work is my older sister.
Well, my hat is definitely off to her. Everything was so wonderfully prepared. But if I'm ever lucky enough to eat at your parents' house again, I will have to remember the food comes in courses. I never ate so much pasta in my life. And then she brings out the main dish. Tell me, does your other sister cook too?
Mariana, well, she's different. She's too busy. Doesn't have time to cook. Her husband, he's the one who didn't show up. He doesn't cook either. They have a PR firm. They work as a team. And I'm not sure if they ever call it a day. Like it's supper today. Every 2 minutes, Mariana gets up from the table to make a call. I guess they eat out a lot. Too bad. Cooking is a really nice way to spend time together. How could anyone live like that? Never step foot inside a kitchen.
I bet you spend a lot of time in the kitchen, and with all those wonderful...
Hannah was very good at drawing shy people into conversation to make them feel comfortable, to a point where she could ask just about anything she wanted, and they would answer. In no time at all, she was reeling in the fish she wanted to catch as she listened to her date explaining the intricacies of regional Italian cooking.
And you know, spaghetti, it really wasn't invented in Naples. Pasta itself, it came from Sicily, but it was in a small town called Grajano, which is now basically a suburb of Naples, that the process of drying the flour and keeping it was refined. You see, the pasta, it's made from durum wheat flour, and this stuff, it's really hard to knead. And that's why most people these days like to buy it already prepared. Anyway, once you have the pasta, and I tell you, it comes in so many wonderful varieties, like bucatini, vermicelli, cannelloni, ravioli. Oh man, I could just go on and on.
Giorgio sure could go on, and he did.
Fettuccine, linguine, farfalla, fusilli, and conchigle.
And on and on.
And gamelli and ravioli.
And on until...
Wait. Didn't you already say ravioli?
Yeah, I guess I did, but I didn't say agnolotti, did I? Agnolotti, you see, that's a type of ravioli. Without the cheese, of course. Anyway, what I really wanted to say was this. All pasta has to be cooked al dente. Otherwise...
Giorgio, how are you liking karate? You've been taking it for about 2 months now.
And al dente means that... What? You want to know if I like karate? Like it? No, not really.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But let me ask you then, why did you join my dojo?
So, well, why did I join? Well, I needed exercise, and self-defense, you know, it's a good thing to know. Yeah, that's why I decided to join up, I guess.
Yes, that makes sense. Self-defense is a good reason. Everyone should know a little. But what don't you like about it?
Well, it's humiliating. Some of those guys, especially that big lug.
Jason or Roger?
You know, the one with the hairy arms.
Oh, that's Jason.
Yeah, Jason Dowd. Well, he uses me like I'm his punching bag or something.
Oh, yeah, he can be a bit of a nuisance. But Giorgio, of all the karate dojos in the world, why did you choose the same dojo where
Well, I guess I just needed a neutral place.
I'm sorry, I'm not following. A neutral place for what?
Like a place outside of work. Look, everyone says you're the best accountant in town, and sure, I'd love to hire you, and...
You joined my dojo because you want to hire me?
No. See, I could have hired you any time, but...
So why didn't you?
I can't. I get in so much trouble. The guy I use is the brother-in-law, the mayor, and if I fired him, I'd have the mayor and my sister pissed at me. And anyway, that's not the reason...
It took Giorgio a while to spit out what he wanted to say, and Hannah waited patiently, her smile increasing in size, until he finally blurted out what she had been waiting to hear.
I think I like you.
That wasn't so hard now, was it? And I must say, I'm glad you did. Ask me out, that is. Otherwise, I would have had to ask you. Now, I would really like to see your kitchen. Your apartment is close by, isn't it?
Just like that, Hannah had invited herself over to Giorgio's apartment. It had come as a complete surprise. After all, this was their first date, and being a novice, he wasn't really sure if his kitchen was her main focus. When the two of them reached his apartment building, he found himself in a situation he had never experienced before. But even in your mid-30s, you can get lucky, and being well-read, he knew exactly what to do. He invited her up. The fact his apartment was a complete mess was momentarily forgotten. He was too busy trying to generate small talk that was, until moments before, so easy to come by.
Look, Hannah, I need to apologize. I haven't cleaned up in a while, and you said you wanted to see the kitchen, but it's a bit of a mess, so please don't notice that. I usually clean in the evenings before I go to...
When the door finally swung open, Hannah waltzed in and abruptly came to a dead stop.
Whoa, this is incredible. We have so much in common. We must use the same cleaning service.
Somewhere between the dirty dishes in the sink and the dust balls in the hallway, Giorgio lost her. She moved in and out of the rooms at light speed while he tried, for some reason, to pick up each mess after she had already passed. He finally did catch up with Hannah, exactly where his wildest dream would have placed her, sitting on his bed. Unfortunately, he was holding an armful of dirty laundry, trying to locate the empty hamper, and she was admiring his cape and leather, which were exactly where he had left them, draped over the cedar chest at the foot of the bed.
So, you're Batman.
And this is where Giorgio felt a little white lie had to come into play.
Yeah, do you like it? I got it in Viewport when I was in Montreal visiting my niece and nephew. I got it to wear in the next parade.
The next Frenchtown parade?
Yeah, you know, I thought, I'd dress up.
The next Frenchtown parade.
Yeah, I thought I just answered that question.
Just making sure. Because the next Frenchtown parade is being put together by the Gay Alliance group to celebrate...
The Gay Pride Day?
Yeah. That's so good of you to show support, and... Are you gay?
It took a few minutes to sort through the details, and in the end, Hannah realized that Giorgio wanted to come out of the closet. Only his closet was home to all those who loved cosplaying. Of course, Hannah wanted to help in any way she could, so she immediately jumped on the bandwagon to demonstrate her desire to support those who like to dress up in costumes.
Oh, how wonderful, Giorgio. We'll march together. I'm going to have to do some serious shopping to find a matching outfit. I mean, look at all the leather on yours, and these masks. I don't think anyone will recognize who we are. I suppose that might be a good thing. I mean, I'm not sure I'll look too good in tight-fitting leather.
As she continued to talk, Giorgio slipped out of the room and collapsed on his couch, wondering just what had he gotten himself into.